I've been assaulted by that gentleman down there.
That smell of maggots.
One of you is probably going to get locked up.
Rotting food and maggots.
We want you to give us £100,000 or we can cut your throat.
I think it's awful to let people live with that toxic rubbish right next to our house.
Between rows of terraced houses, a country park and a primary school in Wigan sits this burnt mass of shredded, stinking waste. 25,000 tonnes of illegally dumped rubbish. But this is just one of thousands of locations turned to dump sites across the country in recent years, with the authorities accused of failing to tackle an epidemic in serious waste crime. Actually being stood here in this site is quite overwhelming. You can see the sheer scale of this rubbish which has been dumped. It almost rises to 4, maybe 5 stories high in places, and the smell is indescribable. It's just rotten. It almost gets you in the chest. But for now, there's no sign of this being cleared up, and so local people say the rubbish just sits here and festers.
That smell of maggots. Rotting food and maggots. My house smells like that. We just can't move for flies, and then we noticed an increase in rats.
Louise, not her real name, is too scared about who might be behind this organised criminal act to appear on camera.
We just started getting in deliveries of 18-wheeler lorries coming down the street, and we'd get about 20 or 30 a day delivering loads of rubbish. And it's not just a set category of rubbish, it's nappies, black bin rubbish, chemicals, plastic.
She can't believe, months on, it's still here.
I think it's awful to let people live with that toxic rubbish right next to our house after asking for help and nothing's materialised.
Locals first started reporting refuse lorries driving down the road last winter. Satellite photos from October, January, March and June showed just how quickly the site filled up. And then on the 1st of July, a blaze started naturally in the rubbish, which burnt for 9 days and was declared a major incident. Only then, on the 18th of July, did Wigan Council get a court order to close the site.
Some residents ended up with chest infections and was on steroids and inhalers from the smoke, and I do believe there's a couple of residents actually ended up in hospital as well.
Sky News has been investigating the national surge in waste crime, so lucrative it's been dubbed the new narcotics. If treated properly, this 25,000 tonnes of waste could have been worth as much as £2.5 million in landfill tax. Often gangs will undercut legitimate competition, dump the rubbish and pocket the huge profits. But finding out how and why this happened here and who's responsible is difficult. The landowner hasn't responded to us, and the many companies who appear to have transported the waste are also refusing to answer our questions or our calls. It's Rachel Venables here. I'm calling from... He hung up. It's Bolton House Road, Bickershaw in Wigan.
Welcome to the EE voicemail. I'm sorry, but the person you called...
So back in January, residents tell us that they had sometimes 20 wagons a day driving down their road, and we've seen images of several of these vehicles. They're either refuse or haulage companies, and some of their websites talk about being eco-friendly, a focus on recycling. But so far, through our attempts to speak to them on email or with a call, none of them have been able to give us a good explanation as to what they were doing there. Louise and her neighbours are victims of organised crime, but they feel like they've been abandoned by the authorities, and they're not alone.
This machine is a loading shovel.
So it makes sense that you'd use something like this if you were moving a huge amount of waste around?
Correct.
Unaware of what was happening in Wigan, Neil leased several diggers there over the winter, but the payments stopped coming, and then they got a warning call from the Environment Agency, so he and his daughter went to take their vehicles back. but they claim a group of men on the land assaulted and threatened them.
We want you to give us £100,000 and we'll allow you to take your diggers back, or we can cut your throat.
But the police told them to leave, or they would be arrested.
I'm reporting to you now that I've been assaulted by that gentleman down there.
And he's saying you broke his gate.
These machines are stolen.
Legally,
right?
they are not.
Yes, they are.
No, they aren't. We're going to go. If we come back and get another call out and you have not left, as I've advised you to do, one of you is probably going to get locked up.
They never got their machines back, and days later they'd been smashed up and destroyed.
Well, angry really. My main concern, I just wanted us to get us machines back, but the fact that a man can spit in a woman's face and get away with it and the police are not interested, well, it is maddening.
If you had to say in a couple of sentences how difficult the last couple of months have been, how bad's it been?
Absolutely soul destroying. It's caused us so much grief, damage to business, just absolutely brought us to our knees.
Financially, what's been the damage?
Probably upwards of 250, 300,000.
And when it comes to the way the authorities deal with waste crime, illegal dump sites, what have you learnt?
They're not bothered.
A Greater Manchester Police spokesperson said, "We can confirm there's an ongoing complaint, and as part of this complaint, our Professional Standards Directorate are assessing all elements of the investigation, including all crimes and reviewing body-worn footage. This process will take time to go through, however the complainant will be kept up to date with the process." What's gone wrong here between the council, the police and the Environment Agency?
Bluntly, there's been too much passing the buck.
The local MP thinks there's been a multi-agency failure.
I was told there's a criminal investigation and therefore no action can be taken to prevent people dumping more on the site or intervening. We can't intervene because there's a criminal investigation. That just doesn't seem right to me.
Legally, it's the landowner's responsibility to clear up this waste, but the bill to the council, if they refuse, could be between £4 and £5 million.
And cynically, this is a working class area. The value of this land is less than the cost that it will be to remove the waste behind me. So it's easy to just let it happen. It is in the end the Environment Agency's job to protect our environment. So if the Environment Agency don't feel they have responsibility for cleaning up things like this that are just too big for local councils, then we have to change what the Environment Agency is responsible for as politicians.
The Environment Agency's Director of Operations said their staff are visiting regularly, adding, in addition to doing everything with the powers available to us to reduce the impact the site is having, we're continuing to progress our criminal investigation as a priority. This includes actively pursuing many lines of inquiry, interviewing under caution and using the enforcement tools available to us. This is a community that feels wronged and abandoned, wronged by the criminals so brazenly making money from this disaster, and abandoned by the authorities, whom they'd hoped would have had the will and power to protect them. Rachel Venables, Sky News in Wigan.